Hello, everybody. I am here again, and I just want to take time out to encourage us again, about the goodness of God and what He can do. I want to focus today on something that I believe may have crossed your mind also, and it is about the characters in the Bible, how it is that sometimes when we read about them, we find that in measuring up ourselves, we don't relate, in the sense that it's as if, will I be able ever to, for example, be a Job? Could I ever go through what Job went through and still remain faithful? Could I be, a Mary? Could I be the one who, God can say, this is my daughter and I am choosing to use her for a cause that is so great? There are many times when we read about these characters, and to be honest, I find sometimes that in measuring up, I don't come anywhere close. But there's this one particular character that I find very relatable, and this character is actually Peter. Now, Peter was a disciple of Jesus, and that means that he walked closely with Jesus, and he had a very intimate relationship with him. He was with him every day. He saw, what he did. He saw the many times that he went to pray, and he had this connection with Jesus that was just amazing. And it is a particular time in this experience that I really find encouraging and even inspiring. And it was shortly after Jesus had fed the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And shortly after that experience, Jesus went aside to pray, and he told the disciples that they should continue along on the journey and that he would catch up with them sometime later. And so after that, the disciples set out, of course, on boat and were journeying towards the next destination. And sometime later on the sea, it was now about the time of the night, there arose this great storm, and the waves started becoming higher, and the sea was raging, and the disciples, they were afraid, and they wondered if they would be able to make it. And whilst this was happening, they happened to see that there was somebody walking on the water towards them. And in that moment, because of everything else that was happening around them, they thought it was a ghost, and they were even more frightened and afraid of what would become of them. But Jesus, sensing their fear, said to them, "It is I, fear not." And Peter, because of his experience with Christ, and he had just seen what, Jesus had done with the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and I believed his faith was so pumped up, and he was, at this level in Christ, and he just wanted to really put his faith to the test. And he said to Jesus whilst he was out there on the water, "If it is you, then bid me to come to you, walking on the water." And Jesus said to him, "Come along, Peter, it is I." And Peter, by faith, stepped out of the boat, where he was having this hard time believing that the storm that was raging was ever going to cease. He was even at the point believing that this was going to probably be his last. He stepped out of the boat and onto the raging sea, and he, in that moment, wasn't even thinking about the fact that the sea was raging. All he thought about in that moment was that if it was Jesus that was out there on the water, then once he stepped out, he would have been absolutely fine. And so Peter stepped out of the boat and he started walking towards Jesus, and he must have felt, oh, amazing. This is just absolutely amazing. It is Jesus. But in the midst of that experience, Peter, for whatever reason, was reminded that the sea was raging and that there was a storm. And in that moment that he remembered that, he somehow took his eyes off Jesus, and he began to sink right away, and he cried out, "Lord, save me." And Jesus reached out his hand to him, and he was saved. What am I saying here? It's a similar situation for me, because I've had instances where the vicissitudes of life, the challenges, the everyday ups and downs, have had me, look at my problems and think, what is going to happen? How am I going to get out of this? When will this situation change? When will I get my breakthrough? When will I get my deliverance? When will I get that which I thought would have been mine for so long? And in those times when I focus so much on my problems and what the situation is that I'm going through, I have found that those are the times when I feel pressured, I feel down, I feel, as if I have no hope, I have no more courage, I can't make it another step, I can't do another day of this. But in those times when I choose to take my eyes and my mind off my problems and to focus on God and what he can do, and to focus on his words and to use his words to encourage myself, then I find that I'm able to stand strong, and I'm able to face each day, and just be encouraged and to just move ahead, forging ahead, believing that all things will work together for my good. So, I really find Peter relatable, because he had his moments when he had the struggle with his faith. He had, the struggle with believing that God really would say what he said he would do. And I too have had my days when I have struggled, and I am still growing in the faith. I am still learning day by day just to trust the Lord, and to know that, where I am is because of what God is doing. Where I'm going is because of what God is going to do. And so even when in this moment I can't see my way out, I can't see how my situation is really going to change, I can't see how, it seems impossible. But day by day, I just have to continue to encourage myself in the Lord and know that he is the God who specializes in the things that do seem impossible. And, the only way that I can really prove him is by going through this, and at the end seeing that God made a way. And so I encourage you also, you may be having your moments of doubts, your moments of thinking that your situation is never going to change, and the storms of life are really, like blowing, and they're keeping you down. But remember, you don't have to sink. You can stay afloat by trusting, putting your confidence in Christ, because the God who was is the God who is, and the God who will be. And so I am encouraged today, and I want to encourage you also to continue to look to God, and remember that he who hath promised is faithful and will see you through to the very end. God bless you now, and have yourself a lovely, lovely day.